On to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to the Toffee Blues end of season awards. This is sort of the final piece of content I think we'll be doing on this season. We've done the big review, we've done loads of different pieces on this, so we'll dish out these awards, and then I think after this one we can finally draw a line under this season. I mean, thank goodness for that. I'm joined by Steve Ormby, of course. We're going to be going through all of the different awards. This is now our fourth annual awards show on the Toffee Blues. We look back at the ups and downs of the season. We give our votes. We cast our votes. The 20 regular contributors to the Toffee Blues, both on YouTube and in written content as well. So all of those contributors, including Stephen and myself, have cast our votes on the 10 categories that we've got for you on the show. There's 10 different awards up for grabs, some far more honourable than others. And speaking of that, we'll start with one of the more dishonourable ones. We'll go for the worst moment of the season award, because after a season like this, we could only start on a negative, couldn't we? Let's be honest, it's not been the greatest of seasons. Worst moment of the season. Have you got your own personal one for this one, Steve? Or
I'm going to try and remember them off the top of my head. I can remember this one. I voted for the fourth Newcastle goal at Goodison.
Yeah.
I think that might be a bit of an off-the-cuff one, but I think what really stuck in my head was I did the match review, the instant match reaction for that game, and I was at the match and I was in the Glasgow Street. And I remember doing the instant match reaction, but actually being that many people had left, I actually found a quiet corner in the back corner of the Glasgow Street and recorded my instant match reaction there while the game was in added time, because it was that poor. And I remember, did we lose 4-1 or 5-1? We lost 4-1, didn't we?
4-1, I think, yeah. It was meant to be 5, but a goal got disallowed, I think, for them.
I think I started the fourth. That was it. It was 4-1, and I was like, I'm gonna go do the reaction, because I'm not gonna get any time coming out of the match afterwards. So I went to the back. It was in GT8. I went and sat there against the wall, and there was just loads of empty seats around me. And I started recording, and Newcastle scored the fifth. So I had to restart recording, and then I found out it had been been chalked off, but so I had to start again. So that memory's just stuck in my head, of that pure depression of sitting there reviewing that game.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think you stood in for me for that one, because I was too inebriated after watching it to be able to record.
I don't know if I still
got the words.
Yeah, I think I might have deleted it now if I had any sense. Don't know if I've still got. I think there's 3. I did like 3 takes for that one. Because, I think, I can't remember when they scored. Did they score the fourth in added time? I can't remember. Either I started at 3-1 and they scored, and I had to start again and change the scoreline, or either they scored and it got chalked off. It was the fifth, but that was just horrible. I was at that moment. I was saying we were going down, and thankfully we didn't. It's on the last day. But that was awful. That was my worst moment of the season. But there's been a few. What did you vote for?
I voted for Headlock Gate, which
yeah.
I mean, but this is the point we were going to make. There's so many varied votes on this one. I'm just going to reel off some of the others. We've just given our own personal ones, but across all of our contributors, we've got a couple of dishonourable mentions. So Headlock Gate. Your one against Newcastle, the 4-1 home defeat to Brighton, the double header of Bournemouth, a 4-1 and a 3-0. Bill Kenwright's letter, James Coleman's injury, so many difficult ones. Somebody put the whole season, which is a really straightforward.
I was thinking of doing what was really a bit like. Obviously, I was trying to think of an on-pitch moment, because everything else was on pitch pretty much. But if we're talking about off-pitch moments, one that really stood out for me was not Headlock Gate, it was a bit after it, where someone sprayed over Bill Kenwright's face on the on the the timeline that goes around the ground.
Oh yeah.
Someone sprayed on it, and everyone was like, "Wait!" Everyone was laughing. The next home game went to the protest, and they'd actually put a brand new picture of him up in the place. That for me, walking past that and seeing everything else was old, and this brand new picture of Bill Kenwright that had been replaced, that was brand spanking new, sat up there in the place of where the old one was that got taken down by fans. Seeing that was a bit of a symbolism
Oh
for
yeah.
me for how
There
bad it
was
was.
Canal Gate as well, wasn't there? Where his mural ends up in the canal.
Oh, I don't remember that. No.
Yeah, well, that was it. I think that the picture of Kenwright that you're on about at another stage, it disappeared mysteriously and was fished out of the
That yeah,
Liverpool Canal, wasn't it?
I think yeah, that got taken down, and then the pictures were everywhere of the little gap in the middle of the timeline where he was gone, and then I remember walking past down Goodison Road on one of the protests and seeing a brand new picture of him. But genuinely, like if you were to go around taking photos of the club at this point for historical context in 20, 30 years, that photo would just stand out for me. The photo of his brand new photo in between all of the so-called good times, the FA Cup final where we got beat, or Lukaku signing. Like, how one of these
Some,
good times.
I'll be honest. I mean, I loved it when it was first put up there, and a friend of mine, his family was involved in the putting together of that timeline. But I think nowadays, I think when you get to sort of post 1990, I think most of it's pretty
Oh yeah,
embarrassing.
that's what I'm saying. Like everything sort of pre-Ken, right? Again, it's great. You see like the penalty shootout win against Mönchengladbach, and you see the FA Cup win. You see the really early days with like the club being formed. That's amazing. But then you look at like some of the newer ones just by the park end, and it's like Louis Saha scores after 25 seconds, which don't get me wrong is a moment, but when you lose the game, no one cares.
Now,
Um,
Chelsea can put that on their timeline because they won the cup.
yeah, exactly, and well, and even now it doesn't matter. You may as well take it down now because Gundogan's beating it. So yeah,
Oh yeah,
but
that's a good point. Yeah, that's gonna have to get took down. So yeah,
but even
while they're
just
taking that one down, they can take everything pre 1995, everything post
it's
1995
just
can get took
basic.
down.
My worst moment was Newcastle, but what I'm saying is another bad, really bad moment, which summed it up for me, was his after that got taken down and thrown in the canal, having it being put back up, and the fact that they didn't even dirty it a little bit to like make it look to blend it in a bit. The fact that it was brand new and that everything else, every other one was falling down. It was funny to me.
It's typical of them not reading the room, really. But anyway, we'll get through this one anyway because, like I said, there's so many different people gave different answers to this one. But yeah, there's so many dished around. But there was a joint second place with 3 votes. 3 votes each was the 4-1 home defeat to Brighton, and the other one in second place is the double whammy of defeats to Bournemouth in November under Lampard. And
Mm.
you can't really argue with either of those, can you?
Yeah, I've chalked the Bournemouth games off. So what won? What was the?
Well, in first place with 5 votes out of 20, and this is this might be to do with Headlock Gate as well because this was on the same day. It was 2-1 home defeat to Southampton, who of course were bottom of the league. I think that was the point when people really. I remember I was up and around the ground when the game was ongoing, and I just remember the second goal going in here and Southampton's fans cheering, and then just seeing our fans storming out of the stadium and realizing we were getting beaten. That was horrible. And
Yeah,
that was the day of the
yeah
headlock story getting leaked as well. So I think that probably just added fuel to the fire for this one. This was a really, really chastening day. I remember it.
yeah. I only remember Headlock Gate. I've chalked a lot of these games have gone out of my mind. The only thing I can remember from that is Ward Prowse's free kick and speaking to some nice Southampton fans in the Oak before the game. That's the only thing I can remember of that day. But then coming out the ground and going on Twitter and seeing the headlock stuff. That was just it's like twisting the knife, wasn't it? Just ridiculous.
Yeah, but it was really painful, that one. That was a horrible afternoon. I just remember, like,
Whoever
from
made
start to
the
finish, it was a disaster.
whoever made the thing about the Kenwright statement as well, I'd pretty much forgotten about that. I like to, if I see something and I know it's gonna make me angry, I don't read it. Because I don't want to feel myself with the negativity. But I remember reading that. What really done it for me with the Kenwright statement was the bit at the end of one of the paragraphs where he said Sharpie on banners or on bed
Oh,
sheets, and
I was treated at that.
I was seething like when I read that, because the fact that he's been with this club for so long and he claims to be an Evertonian, and he's undermined the fan base by saying you've put our names on bed sheets. That really done it for me. And there was no sort of grammar in that. You could tell he typed it out in a fueled
In a fit
rage.
of
On
rage,
a,
yeah.
yeah, and there was no grammar. There was loads of like punctuation in the wrong places. Like that's a good shout. That, but I went for an on the pitch moment.
Yeah. Well, the first place wasn't on the pitch moment, and it was the 2 on defeat to Southampton, which is very understandable. We'll
Yeah,
quickly move on. Yeah,
let's
we'll
get
move.
should we get all the bad ones out the way first?
Tell you what, yeah, let's do that. Let's see.
There's a couple of bad ones, isn't there?
No, in fact, this is the only bad one. So I
Oh,
think we've
right.
got all the bad ones out the way, and we're moving on to the good ones now. So, as Bill said, so many good times. So we'll look back on all them so-called good times now. Best moments of the season is the next award up for grabs. Some honourable mentions: the appointments of Sean Dyche, the 5-1 away win at Brighton, the penalty saved by Jordan Pickford against Leicester. But in second place with 3 votes out of 20, our first win under Dyche, Everton 1, Arsenal 0.
Oh yeah, that was good.
Real, real, real moments of relief that game, and then no prizes for guessing what first place was. 14 votes out of 20, pretty unanimous. It was the final day that Everton won, Bournemouth 0, and Decore's winning goals to keep us up.
I didn't go for Decore. I went for McNeil's fifth against Brighton, because for me the last day sort of, it didn't feel like, it felt more just, I don't know, it felt more like any other game for me towards the end. And after it, when the final whistle went, I just had to put my arms in the air and then walked off. But I didn't really, it didn't hit the same really as last season. But no, I went. I can understand people going for it, because obviously when you're talking about important moments, that's obviously the most important. But for me, the best moment, like the moment that's made you feel amazing, what that Brighton game was something else, James. It was like,
Mm.
it was. I remember it was 4-1, and I was watching on the telly, and it was 4-1. And this is the first time in years I've done this as an Evertonian. I was able to eat me tea while watching the match, because I was so relaxed. And I was watching it. I was eating me tea. We were 4-1 up, and I saw McNeil go through, and I went, "Go on, hit it," and he hit it. And I remember the rain falling from the top of the net and hitting the floor, and watching, and I was eating, and I just put my hand in and get in. So that for me was the time where I just felt that was the best moment I felt all season. Decore's goal was just a relief, I think.
Yeah, well, it was, I like to say, second place got 3 votes. Brighton away must have only had 2 votes, and it was me and you by the looks of it. Because I went for
Yeah.
Brighton away myself, yeah. Because
Oh
it
yeah.
was the most enjoyment I've had all season. Was the surprise of like checking the score and realizing we were 3-0 up at half time.
Yeah. What was a nice moment as well, which doesn't get spoke about, it was so long ago, was the 3-0 win at Palace, at home against Palace.
Oh yeah.
Calvert-Lewin's first goal. That was a really good moment. So that was nice. But yeah, I think for me, Brighton's got to be the game because they were on. Everyone had wrote us off going into that game, saying Brighton are amazing, and Brighton are going to beat us, and we were 3-0 up at half time. It was a great feeling.
Yeah, I think the Palace one has a bit of a dark undertone because it prolonged Lampard's stay. When I think if we'd have lost that, maybe it would have like expedited
Maybe,
sacking, maybe, which in the long run might have done us a bit of good. So I think I'd definitely say like the Brighton one has a lot more. I have a lot more fond memories of that than Palace, but
oh, definitely.
I
That
definitely think
pink kit, I'll just have fond memories of. That pink kit is just, that was amazing. I remember. I don't think we lost the game in the pink kit, did we? So it was
yeah, we need to
brilliant.
wear that more. Just
Yeah,
keep that as the away kit again next season.
make it the own kit next season.
You But yeah, I definitely don't disagree with first place though. I think you can't argue with Decore's winning goal and the win over Bournemouth and what it means for the club now. But
Yeah,
like,
most important moments of the season, definitely.
absolutely. Next one, underrated player of the season. Some honourable mentions. We've got James Garner, Damari Gray, Dwight McNeil. In joint second place with 3 votes is James Tarkowski and Idrissa Gueye. This was a really difficult one because the season
Mm,
we've had, I don't think anyone particularly has been underrated.
underrated now. I think Gray is a really good shout because like I've been seeing Gray get linked away recently, and everyone's going, "Oh, I'd let him go, let him go." I was doing the thing with James last week on the keep or sell, and I was like, if we sell Damari Gray, we're going to be really short up front because he can play across the front three, he can play in behind the striker. He's not the greatest player we've ever had, but you know what I mean. He pops up with a goal here, and then he can play in loads of positions. He's reliable. So I think I can't remember who I went for with this. Um, I don't think I think I might have put Iwobi because I think Iwobi hasn't got enough credit. He was all really good under Lampard, and then he struggled a little bit under Dyche at the beginning. Then he really settled into that 4-5-1. So I think he's been getting he gets a lot of stick, and he's a bit of a scapegoat when we lose. But I think I went with him just because I think we won't realise what we have in him until it's gone. But listening to some of the other people's shouts, there's a couple you could have gone with, really. Tarkovsky's the big one, though.
Yeah, I think I actually went with McNeil for this one because I feel like in the early stages of the season he was getting a lot of stick off supporters. And
I remember the photo, and it was like, what's the biggest downgrade in football? And someone replied with just a picture of Dwight McNeil. And after we played about 2 games, um, and
yeah,
he's proper turned the style on in the second half of the season now.
I think the reason I went with him was because I felt he was underrated at that time as well. I feel like I knew there was a player in him when a lot of other people didn't. And
Hmm.
obviously it took a good manager in Sean Dyche to unlock best of him. But
Yeah,
yeah, he's definitely been one of our better players this season, and I think he does deserve more credit for I think his
he's
goal
always been a
contrib
good
he
player.
must have far more goal contributions than any of our other players. I don't know the exact statistics, but
Yeah. But you look
between
at
his
some of the
goals and
goals he
assists, he must
scored.
have the most.
Look at some of the goals he scored. You know, he carried us against Brighton. He got the winner against Brentford. Um, he scored some important goals this season, but on a whole, like in terms of a full out and out winger, he is the best I've seen at Everton in a long, long time. Purely because he just does what you want. It's like we've had a lot of tricky wingers. We've had the likes of Morales and Balassi and Delafeu and players like that, but it's been a long time since we've had a proper left-footed left winger who just runs the line fast, puts the ball into the box when you want him to. And that's been so nice to see. So he was a shout. Well, I think I give him young player as well. So
Yeah, we'll get onto that one later on. But in first place for the underrated player of the season, 4 out of 20. There wasn't like this was a very scattered one as well, but with 4 votes out of 20, the underrated player of the season award goes to Connor Cody.
Oh
And
yeah,
I can definitely agree with that.
definitely. Look, listen, if you want me to hear my opinions on Connor Cody, just go back and watch the Keep or Sell video, because I won't waste your time talking about it again. But yeah, he was fantastic, and I know. So yeah, I think he fully deserves that, and even if he doesn't come back this summer, at least he's got a Toffee Blues end of season award.
Yeah, I mean, not bad. If he doesn't come back, it's one season, one award. I mean, that's a better record than most. So next one, we've got improved player of the season, most improved player. In third place with 4 votes out of 20 is Alex Iwobi.
Hmm.
Second place with 6 votes out of 20 is Abdoulaye Doucouré. And first place with 10 votes out of 20 is, of course, as we just said, the change from start to finish of the season. First place is Dwight McNeil.
Yeah, I think for me with this one, I think I went with Iwobi because I was bearing it in mind over from last season to this season, not throughout the whole season. So for me, he improved a lot. Doucouré, do you know what? Listening to, I would probably, if you're going over the season from August to May, you'd go for Dwight McNeil. But if you're going from 21, 22 to 22, 23, it's Doucouré. Doucouré's properly stepped his game up, and under Daichi, just like an absolute world beater at times, and he saved us on the last day. So, yeah, I can understand all three of them. I think Alex and Abdoulaye will be unlucky not to pick the award up, but Dwight McNeil's just been
It's a
fantastic, as we've
worthy
just
win, a very worthy winner of this one. I definitely
definitely.
think so. Next one, big one, obviously, goal of the season. Few to get through
I
here.
remember what I put for this. I remember what I
So
put for this.
quick, there's some honourable mentions. Damari Gray's equaliser against City
Yeah,
in December. Gabby George's brilliant goal for the women's team against Reading.
yeah, I was there that
Great,
day.
yeah, it was a class goal. Um, Joint second though, we've got with 5 votes. This is a really tight one again. 5 votes apiece in second place. Seamus Coleman versus Leeds. Crucial goal in the grand scheme of things. And Michael Keane against Spurs.
Hmm.
Again, you're not going to be surprised to know that Doucouré's final day volley is winning this one as well.
Well,
Six votes out of 20.
I went for Coleman. It was the day after my birthday, and I was still celebrating my birthday. Um, the day after, and went the match. It was so tight, and then Seamus Coleman, who I was just so impressed with. I really thought at the end of last season that that'd be his end of an Everton career, because it looked like he wasn't going to be able to come back and do really very much for us outside the dressing room. But then under Dyche, he just come in and he was just fantastic. Like he really worked on his game, the defensive side of it. He's worked on sort of how, I think, when he makes his runs, when he stays, when he goes, and he's just turned into a different type of right back this season. And that goal just sums it. If you were to, if in 20 years someone was to, a little kid was to ask me what was Seamus Coleman like, I would show them that video, because the guy is just seriously like him. You get emotional when you think about him, don't you? Just some of the stuff that he's able to do. He epitomises Everton Football Club in every single sense of the word. And to me, he is an absolute. But he's there with Bainesy now as an Everton legend. And that goal for me against Leeds, obviously the Doucouré one was massive. It was a great goal as well, the way he ran onto it. But for me, that Coleman goal just had an aura about it that only one player in the Premier League could score that goal, and Coleman is the only player who could have scored it, because it was just the Seamus Coleman goal. It
It
was
was
just
so unorthodox, wasn't it?
it was just him. It was just him all over. You look at the goals that he scored over the years, and he's got a type of goal that he scores. He never scores. He doesn't score like amazing curled shots go just over the keeper. He doesn't score free kicks. He doesn't score penalties. He doesn't score. He's not a poacher inside the box. He just he does. he scores common sense goals. He looked at the ball and he looked at the goal and he went, "Yeah, go on." Whereas a lot of players would have sat on the ball and waited for an option. It reminded me of the one against Palace. It was a bit like that at Selhurst Park where he put it in the roof of the net. There was the one against Cardiff he scored under Martinez about 10 years ago where
Cardiff one, I remember that,
he
yeah.
ran on and he sort of spoons it with his left foot and it looked like it was never going in and it fell over the goalkeeper. There's the one he scored against Swansea, I think. Literally, we could do a video just talking about Seamus Coleman's goals because it was fantastic. But he scored so many like that. But that one, just when you just think the guy is down and out, he comes out with something like that. And that for me was the that goal of the season for me. I mean, Decore's was great, but for me, if you wanted to, like I've just said before, we'll go back and ask older Evertonians, what was this player like? I would say, what was Duncan Ferguson like? And they'll show you the goal, or they'll show you that one against Man United, or what was Tim Cahill like? And they'll show you that one against Chelsea where he overhead kicked it. Or, you'd even go back and go, what was Alan Ball like? And they'll show you that goal against Newcastle at the Gladys Street end. But if in 20, 30 years, my son or daughter was to come to me and go, "Dad, what's Seamus Coleman like? Who's Seamus Coleman?" I'd get that video up against Leeds and I'd say, that was Seamus Coleman.
Well, in the grand scheme of things as well, though, that was the winning goal in a massive 6 points.
Huge, because obviously that pretty much in the grand scheme of things did put Leeds on the disadvantage, didn't it? And obviously he went into the last day the most disadvantaged of the 3 teams.
If we'd have drawn that game and he hadn't scored that goal, Leeds went into the final day in front of us, I think. So that sort of tells you what
it's just the
meant.
character of the fella. And as much as I love some of the other players on the team, it's just you can't have seen. He's probably the last of a very special breed of Everton players, I think, for now anyway, that you put him in there with the likes of Cahill and Bainesy and players players like that, where it's probably nostalgia talking, but he is one of those very, very special Everton players, and genuine. The man is an Everton giant. He will be. He's captain the club. He come in when he didn't want to. He was. I think, I don't know, but maybe this season he was looking at being like, a little bit just there to make up the numbers, there to be in the dressing room with Nathan Patterson coming in. And then obviously we had a bit of an injury crisis. He stepped in, captain's armband on, and he just, he showed up when we needed him. He played when he wasn't fit. He played when he was injured. He pretty much, he done his leg really bad at Leicester, and he was trying to stand up off the stretcher. And he was just the man's like, you can't put him down.
You can't knock that. Like,
he was up clapping the supporters coming up, getting the team riled up from the stretcher on the pitch. Like, if I was to take anyone into war with me, it'd be him, I think.
That says it all. But it wasn't his award in the end. It was Abdoulaye Doucouré who keeps sweeping up these awards for his goal.
I've gone off on a bit of a tangent. No, Doucouré's was great. The way he ran, I've watched it back that many times. The from all angles was really good. The only bad thing about that goal is it wasn't at the Gladys Street end.
I know, I would have loved that, but even still, I mean, you can't knock that. I mean, what a way to stay up with a goal like that. I mean, it's a deserving winner. You can't knock it.
What'll stick in my head from Doucouré's goal is being in the Spello after the game, and everyone's singing "Who put the ball in the Bournemouth net?" Abdoulaye Doucouré. So I think, yeah, he's got his own chant now from that goal. So, what a great goal and what a great player as well. So glad that he signed on for a couple more years now, and he'll be first choice now under Dyche. You expect him to be, fully in that team now.
Fingers crossed. Which conclusion on that final run-in at the end of the season. But right, next one we're moving on to is the Women's Player of the Year. It's the first time we've ever done Women's Player of the Year award, and for that we'll be handing over to Kira, who's going to give us our Women's Player of the Year. So over to you, Kira.
Thanks, James, and a huge congratulations to all our winners so far. This year at the Toffee Blues, we are absolutely delighted to be announcing that we will be awarding a Women's Player of the Year for the very, very first time. Obviously, it's been a season of ups and downs for the women. Our first season under new manager Brian Sorensen, and he's completely transformed the team. We've gone from fighting relegation battles to being in sixth place, challenging with the top four sides. It's been an absolutely incredible season. We finished on 30 points, closely behind Aston Villa, who have been a top side throughout the season. So it's been absolutely incredible for the women's side. A few highlights from this season. Obviously, our 3-0 win over Liverpool at Anfield was just a phenomenal performance overall from the whole team. It was an incredible atmosphere as well that was created in that away end. I absolutely loved being there, and yeah, definitely one of my major highlights for this season. Another one is, again, involving the derby, having our first ever WSL derby held at Goodison Park. It was great to see so many Evertonians there celebrating the women's team. And obviously it was unfortunate that we didn't get the 3 points, but to get the draw as well helped us to reach that 6th place in the table. Just an overall incredible season with incredible players that we brought in. And I'm delighted to announce that the Women's Player of the Year for the Toffee Blues is Natalie Bjorn. So huge congratulations to Natalie. She's been such a consistent player throughout the whole season. Definitely up there with one of our top players. She's captained the sides on quite a few occasions. She's very diverse in how she plays. She plays in midfield and defence quite a lot of the time this season, where she's had to adapt to Brian Sorensen's way of playing football, and she's just been so consistent, as I said, and she's the embodiment of what an Everton player should be. She really is the spirit of the Blues, and it's incredible to see. So yeah, Natalie Bjorn, Women's Player of the Year for the Toffee Blues. And I'll hand you back to James and Steve, who are handing out the rest of the awards for tonight's show.
Thanks very much for the Women's Player of the Year award there, Kira, and congratulations, of course, to Natalie Bjorn, who was won the first ever Toffee Blues Women's Player of the Year award.
Yeah, it was a couple of good candidates this season. Obviously, you know, the season didn't quite end how we wanted to, getting that losing to Manchester City. But look, in terms of the women's team, it's been a fantastic season for them. I think there was the 3-0 win at Anfield, which was just amazing. There was Merseyside derby at Goodison, which was a great night for everyone. Gabby George, as we mentioned there, has been fantastic.
She's been excellent.
Yeah, and obviously Jess Park, who after the boss going to see that Reading game at Walton Hall Park, genuinely in awe, looking at how good she is on the ball. I think at the club, in terms of the players we've got on the ball, she's definitely up there with the best. So yeah, it's been a good season for Everton women. Just hope they can push on now next season, because there's definitely space at the top for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's far more enjoyable than men's at the moment. So fair play.
Really.
Yeah, but yeah, Natalie Bjorn, you can't argue with that one either, I don't think.
No, I mean, there was, like I said, Gabby George was fantastic. Jess Park, what a player she is, like I said. And there's so many good players who've shone in that team under Brian Sorensen. So yeah, I think it's looking up now, at least for the women's team anyway. But I think Natalie Bjorn, yeah, she was obviously fantastic, and there was a couple of really good players. Aggie Beaver Jones was really good in last season. So tough competition, but yeah, congratulations to Natalie Bjorn.
Yeah, and then on to that one, another first time award. This is the first time we'll ever do the Everton under-21s Player of the Year. The winner of that award is Stanley Mills, which is no surprise. There was a lot of clamour to get him in the first team when he was struggling for sort of forward players, and why not? Because he scored 15 goals in 23 games over all competitions this season, 10 goals out of 15 games in Premier League 2. But what a fantastic record that is, and you can see why when we were struggling for goals ourselves as the first team, you can see why people want to see him in the first team.
What it is about Stan Mills is he can play in so many positions, and he's got such a good build for the positions that he plays. He's tall, he's athletic. I watched him in the game against Paris Saint-Germain that we played. And yeah, like obviously I haven't watched too much of. I've watched more of the women's than the under-21s, but yeah, Stanley Mills, he's definitely one for the future, and I'm sure he'd clean up at an under-21s awards because he's been fantastic for us this season.
Hopefully see him in the first team next season. So he wouldn't go amiss.
Mhm.
3 more awards to get through. The next one is one we've done over the last few years, the Toffee Blues Icon of the Year. This is a former player who is sort of, or could be a present player, anyone who has earned iconic status
Yeah.
as an Everton player, or Everton manager. It could be anyone associated with Everton with iconic status. Previous winners, we've had Howard Kendall, Duncan Ferguson, Tim Cahill, Leighton Baines, and last year, of course, it was the man who Steve's been waxing lyrical about already in this one, Seamus Coleman. But the winner this year is the one I've been voting for every single year, and he hasn't won until now. But at long last, the winner of this year's Toffee Blues Icon of the Year is the one and only Neville Southall, and well and truly deserved. The most capped Everton player, most appearances, most silverware, I think, as well.
Yeah, talk
Um,
about it on. Talk about talk about Everton legends, Everton icons, Everton heroes, just players again who epitomise Everton Football Club.
no one does it
Big
more than
Nev.
him.
No one does it more than Big Nev. I'd put Alan Ball there up there, who's probably the only one I can think of who
Yeah,
who
Colin
could
Ball,
maybe
Colin
match.
Harvey,
Yeah, I mean, there's the
Rudyard
likes of
Kendall.
Dickie, obviously, but in terms of Big Nev, just he synonymous with that fantastic period in the 80s. The greatest goalkeeper to ever lace a pair of boots for Everton, probably the greatest goalkeeper to ever put a shirt on as well. In terms of, the greatest in that position, the greatest number ones of all time, Neville Southall's got to be in there. And I think even his his attitude, his support for the club, he's quite outspoken. And again,
I
this
think
is a
it's fitting,
positive time.
really. It's
We don't
fitting
want
that
to
he should
talk.
win it this year, and a year where we've had so much. The fans have been berated by the board, and for wanting better. We as fans deserve a better Everton, and no one's been championing
A better Everton.
Everton's stance. Everton, the Everton that we should have, more than Neville Southall, and
I
he's been
mean,
silent. He's been silenced by the very people that we've been protesting against this season, and the sooner
yeah,
that
even
change
his
comes, the better. The sooner we can get Neville Southall back in Goodison Park and amongst fans, and make him feel welcome here again, because he's one of
yeah,
the greatest we've ever had. He should be there, and he should be
he's been
everywhere
shunned
around the
out
club.
he's
Sets the
been shunned out
standards.
for no good reason. He accepts honesty and he accepts liability for every single thing he does. And even recently, like following him on Twitter and seeing some of his tweets is just an absolute joy. The way he talks about, he's got a big. He talks a lot about human rights on his Twitter. He talks a lot about the LGBT community, and I think that really just, similar with Graham Souness as well. The way how he stands up and uses his position to try and make the world a better place, alongside just being a fantastic footballer. I mean, and if there's any case for Neville Southall winning this award, he's the only Everton player that could pull on a red shirt and still be as good as he was. So for me, yeah, Big Nev's got to win it. I'm glad that the your one's finally won there.
Yeah, I've been waiting for this one for years, and I'm glad, like I say, in the year that the people who've exiled him from the club have been getting a lot of,
Yeah.
we're finally getting some traction with the protests and trying to demand the change that he's been demanding from Everton for years now, and hope we get back to the Everton we deserve, because I'd love to just see Neville Southall be there and back in Goodison Park before we leave, and in the Bramley Moore Dock Stadium as well when we move in there. He needs to be an ever present there. He's the greatest player we've certainly post-war player we've had, I think, and he is truly iconic, and what a great social conscience, a fantastic footballer, and an even more fantastic person.
He's a great guy. Doesn't
worthy
miss his
winner.
word. Yeah, he's brilliant. And you know, while we're moving ground, take the Holy Trinity statue, take the Dixie one, and build one for Nev when we're there.
One up as well.
Just have him sitting against the post.
I'd love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But again, that was him staging his own little protest against the dropping of the standards. And then, that was back in 1990 when we just finished like 6th or 8th or something, and we weren't happy with that. And what we wouldn't give for that now. So he is right about the whole making finishing 10th acceptable is the reason we are where we are. We shouldn't be dropping our standards. 7th football club. We've got to strive for better, and no one knows that better than Neville Southall.
He's got that iconic quote, "They've made you think finishing 4th is good," hasn't he? He's got that one. He's got so many things that he said over the years. There's so many stories about him as well to tell future Evertonians about the Chinese meals with Howard when he does a fish and chips and a cup of tea in a Chinese restaurant. I think there was the story when we won the league and he was having a cup of tea and everyone else was having champagne. He's an old style footballer, but he's definitely, in terms of the way he talks, he just fits in within Everton Football Club. Some players fit a club and he fits us. So yeah, I think if there was ever going to be if they were ever going to do a voting for a new statue at Bramley Moor, definitely give one to Nev alongside. Probably just Howard and Nev, or maybe just the 85 team in general. I think there's definitely going to be a case there for some sort of remembrance thing for that team. It may, whether it not be a statue, whether it be a mural or something like that. There has to be some sort of thing, because obviously that's the golden era of Everton Football Club, and he was the pioneer of that one. Yeah,
epitomises it. Like I say, a great footballer and an even greater person. So yeah, worthy winner there. We've got 2 more to go, and it's the 2 big ones. Young Player of the Year first. In 3rd place with 4 votes out of the 20 is James Garner. 5 votes out of 20 in 2nd place is Amadou Onana. And in 1st place with 10 votes out of the 20 is Dwight McNeil.
Yeah, he's going to need a bag of these trophies, isn't he?
Between him and Decore, I think they're mopping them all up at the moment. But Dwight McNeil, Young Player of the Year, you can't knock it really, can you?
No, you can't. We've spoken enough about him. He's fantastic. I hope he's got space for all these trophies.
Yeah, it is. Like I say, we've discussed them a lot, but fingers crossed he can keep kicking on next season, because he's been a revelation this year in terms of when we needed someone to step up, it has been him. And like I say, he's young, he's under 23, and he's sort of grabbed the team by the scruff of the neck at times in the second half of the season. So
led by example.
Soon.
Yeah, he's led by example. He's been fantastic. And next season, I wouldn't be surprised if he won Player of the Season.
Yeah, but that award this year goes to someone else. Player of the Season. There was only 2 people who got votes. In 2nd place with 2 votes out of 20, James Tarkowski. Can't argue with. In 1st place,
underrated one. I give him underrated. Tarkowski playing every single minute.
Yeah, fantastic. But in 1st place, all the other votes, all 18 out of 20. An absolutely unanimous Player of the Season, and for the 2nd year running, it's Jordan Pickford, England's number 1.
Yeah.
Of course,
what is that saying, Jordan, that hasn't been said? I was talking to my dad about him the other day, and he's been one of Jordan's biggest criticisers over the years. The mistakes he's made early on in his Everton career. At times it looked like he wasn't going to be able to be an Everton goalkeeper. And the past couple of years now, he has just exiled himself from any sort of criticism for the things he's done, the saves he's made, captaining the squad when Seamus Coleman's not been fit. The last day where he dislocated his thumb and pushed it back in because he didn't want to come off. There's so many things to say about Jordan Pickford, and just hope that we can keep on to him now for many years, because it's certain that if he stays at Everton any longer, then he's going to be up there with Seamus and Bainesy, in my opinion, just for his temperament, his attitude, his being second to none. You think in his time at Everton, he's just grown as a man as well. He came to Everton a very, very young prospect from Sunderland. Now he's England's #1. He's, in my opinion, the best goalkeeper in this country. I think he is just, he's well deserving of the Everton Player of the Season award, and I don't think it'll be I think if he spends the rest of his career at Everton, which I mean, we're spoiling ourselves by talking about that, but he would be definitely in talking for the Icon Award in maybe
Absolutely, yeah.
15 years.
Would you say he's the best we've had since Nev?
Yeah, I think I would, because I never saw Nigel Martin. Tim Howard played a lot of games, but for what Pickford's done, playing in some of the massive games he's played in he's played in he's played in the World Cup in these huge games for
Euros
England.
finals.
He's played the finals of the Euros, the semis of the World Cup. That just shows his ability to play for England at that level for so many years. To play in 2 relegation dogfights with Everton and keep us up both times.
Usual saves in both as well.
Yeah, to captain the squad when needed. For me, he slots in there right behind Nev, because there's obviously some great goalkeepers that we've had over the years. But I think in terms of when you look back on what Jordan's done, when compared to the likes of Nigel Martin, Tim Howard, Gordon West, I think for what Pickford's done, if you were to ask kids in 20 years growing up now, they would look back on him very fondly, because for me, what can you really look, nothing against the other goalkeepers there, but when you think of the likes of Howard and Martin and stuff like that, there's nothing really that you go back and you go, yeah, I remember them doing this, I remember them doing that.
I mean,
Tim
I
Howard
can say a lot about Nigel Martin, to be fair, because he was the one who was kind of saying was he better than him? Because I saw him with some unbelievable saves. He was excellent in the 3 years he was here. It was fantastic, but I think it's also possibly Pickford's longevity now. He's had 6 seasons here.
It's the fact that he's come back from being so criticised. I think, especially around the Marco Silva era, going into the early Ancelotti days, he was being criticised a lot for his mistakes in the derby. He was criticised a lot for any mistake he was made. He was so heavily scrutinised. To come through that period, play all through the pandemic as #1 goalkeeper, obviously Robin Olsen was there as well, to come through the pandemic as Everton goalkeeper, to come through all these relegation worries, to see off so many managers who've always picked him as their #1, to be England goalkeeper for so long, keeping the likes of Ramsdale and Pope, who are, both Champions League goalkeepers now. For the team that finished 17th to have England's #1 goalkeeper, he must be pretty good. So yeah.
Yeah, we can't argue, but we would have been even lower than 17th if it weren't for him. Let's be honest.
Yeah, without doubt, yeah.
Yeah, he's played such a crucial part in keeping us up 2 years in a row, and that's why for the 2nd year in a row, Jordan Pickford is Everton's Player of the Season, Toffee Blues Player of the Season. So congratulations again to Jordan Pickford, and fingers crossed, more of the same for Everton next year. But yeah, like we said at the start of this video, these awards probably hopefully draw the line under the 2022-23 season, and the turbulent one, and hopefully we can look forward to something a bit better next season. Who
Yeah,
knows? But
yeah. Well,
we'll wait and
the
see.
next,
But yeah, I
yeah.
think
Wait for some
round
signings and a kit reveal, and then the optimism will be back then, won't it?
yeah. Well, you'd like to think so anyway. But for now, that's the end of our content for the 2022-23 season. Let us know your opinions on all the player awards. Who you would have given differently if you think so. Yeah, let us know all your opinions. Get your comments coming in. Give us a like and subscribe for more content. Until then, guys, thanks for watching on the Toffee Blues.